Hey everyone, today we are looking at a single round dungeon clear using some unlockable characters and some high prosperity items and really abusing them to like a crazy level. This video will contain a lot of spoilers for those items and also for the Cthulhu character, the Sun character, the Eclipse character, and also the Three Spears character. So if you are afraid of any spoilers for those kinds of things, then unfortunately you're gonna have to turn this one off, but we will be using all of those things to basically come up with a single round dungeon clear. As you may have noticed, I am in my new office finally, and this is the first video. Apologies for the delay in putting any videos up. It's been pretty crazy trying to move everything over to this new house, getting everything set up how I like it. It's taken a long time, and I didn't really want to film a video until I was happy with my video and with my audio and everything, so I could really make a nice high quality video for you guys. So yeah, we're finally in, and now basically the floodgates can start to open again, and I'll be uploading a lot more content again soon, including my Cthulhu guide and also my Angry Face guide. If you do really enjoy the video, please do consider tossing it a like. It helps me out so much here on YouTube, and consider subscribing if you're not already. I post lots of Gloomhaven content, Frosthaven content, and loads more to come in the future, as well as there's already loads of guides on my channel, so you can always check them out in the description down below. I also stream regularly on Twitch at twitch.tv/managerequests every Monday, Wednesday, and Sunday. And the idea for this video actually came from Twitch viewer Campatt, so big props to him. He suggested this as part of Weird Build Wednesday, which is the stream and the day where we generally look at some of the more weird and wonderful things that you can achieve using the different characters and items and builds in Gloomhaven. So this kind of came about as part of that. So thank you, Campatt, for the idea. And yeah, this turned out to be a really good one, and I thought I would do a proper video on this particular build. Okay, so without further ado, let's jump straight into the guide. So to be clear here, the goal of this guide is to do a full dungeon enemy clear for kill all enemy style scenarios. This isn't going to work for every single scenario out there. This is by no means a technique or strategy for fast completing the game or rapidly trying to complete the game, but it is something that you can do in the late game once you've got all of the characters or a lot of the characters and a lot of the high level items unlocked. So you can use this strategy to farm gold, perhaps farm chests and items in Guildmaster mode by doing the job missions. So this is a good way for you to maybe complete your save or potentially do some of those tricky achievements that you haven't managed to do yet. Having said that, then this really probably is only possible in Guildmaster mode in digital. It's going to be very unlikely that you're going to have the characters and the items and all of the stars will align in the campaign in order to be able to pull this off. It's unlikely, but maybe it could be possible. So really, this is kind of a digital only strategy. However, having said that, you can definitely pull some ideas from this guide and maybe do like a simplified or a streamlined version, maybe not designed around a one round kill, but could certainly give you some very good quick scenarios in which you can actually kill a lot of enemies very quickly. So although perhaps this won't be a single round in the campaign, you could maybe work and tweak this strategy around to come up with something that will work with the party that you have. For this video, I'm going to go through two versions of the strategy. I'm going to go through a first initial simpler strategy, which doesn't require as many characters or as many items, so it's much more likely that people will be able to try this out with sort of the bare minimum. It's still very effective and sometimes can pull off a single round win, but often it won't quite get over the line because if you've got some high health enemies in there, some different kind of enemy types that might be a little bit tricky for you, so you might have to play a second round. But it's very possible to still do a single round clear using this. You just won't quite do as much damage as maybe is possible with the optimized version, which we'll go through a little bit later for you guys who have got all of the items, all of the characters, and can really do this to its maximum effect. So the main pillar of this strategy is using the Plague Herald level 7 card Airborne Toxin Bottom to actually poison all enemies in the dungeon, and then we're going to loop playing our level 5 card Accelerated End top action and our level 9 card Mass Extinction Bottom over and over again in the same round until, well, hopefully everything is dead. We do this by using small items and some complementary mercenaries to gift extra turns and retrieve some items so that we can play them again. We should really be able to do about over 30 direct damage to enemies in a single turn by using this in the maximized way, which, you know, depending on the difficulty and the enemies that you're facing, will typically clear the entire dungeon. So the characters you need for this 4-person party is the Plague Herald, who's going to be the one doing all of the damage. You're going to need the Night Shroud, whose role is to open all of the doors in the dungeons right at the very start and allow us then to poison all of those enemies because we can see them all. The Sunkeeper, who's going to grant us an additional turn and some card recovery through items, and also just provide a little bit of frontline defense because we might actually get attacked during this first round. So it's always good to have somebody at the front to take some hits. We also need the Quartermaster. In the simpler strategy, we just need to go before the Night Shroud and make elements for the rest of the team. He does, however, play a big role in the optimized version of this strategy, using some of his big burn recovery abilities in combination with Second Chance Ring to be able to take a second turn that round. I still recommend using the Quartermaster, as even without that second chance ring, he can recover all of the Plague Herald items for turn 2 for an easy turn 2 round win instead, if you can't quite pull it all off in a single round. Okay, so let's go through the initial character setup. So Plague Herald, who's the most important. The most important things we're looking for are the cards Airborne Toxin, Accelerated End, and Mass Extinction. So first off, we have Airborne Toxin. Airborne Toxin level 7 card. We need the bottom ability here, which was Poison, target all enemies, which is how we get the poison going. Then we have Accelerated End top, which is all enemies with poison suffer 1 damage. We can consume Dark to actually do 2 damage instead. So this is a way that we can start to do damage. And then Mass Extinction is the way we really do damage, which is the bottom here, which is all enemies with poison suffer 2 damage instead. And we can actually consume both air and dark to add a +1 damage. So in total, a single turn in which we manage to use all of these elements and we managed to play both Accelerated End and Mass Extinction together, we can do a total of 5 damage to all enemies, because unfortunately we can't use that dark twice. But we can use the dark here, or we can use the dark here, it doesn't really matter. But we can do a total of 5 damage using both the bottom of Mass Extinction and the top of Accelerated End. So that's all we need to really concern ourselves with cards for the Plague Herald. You won't need any perks at all in this entire build, because essentially we will never be drawing any attack modifiers. So you can obviously ignore negative scenario effects if you like, but apart from that, you won't actually need any perks on any characters at all. So where things get really important is actually the items. So this is where we kind of break the game, if you like, using items. So the head item you want is Pendant of Dark Pacts. This allows you to refresh 2 of your consumed small items, but gain a curse. Now that downside isn't really a downside for us because we're never drawing an attack modifier. So Pendant of Dark Pacts is excellent here. We have Cloak of Pockets, which we're using to just carry 2 additional items, 2 additional small items. We have Wand of Darkness here, which is to create dark. Now, what you would really like here is actually a Wand of Storms, so the wand that creates air. Unfortunately, I do not actually have that item yet on this save. I don't know, I just can't seem to get it, but that would be the most perfect item to have here. I've just chucked a Tower Shield here just in case I get attacked. It really doesn't matter. You could also use potentially a 2-handed item, so you could use, for example, something like, let me find it, Staff of Elements. So you could use Staff of Elements instead. I've actually got this bound to the Sunkeeper. So you could use an item like this to be able to create whichever one that you want. But Wand of Darkness and essentially Wand of Storms is really what you want here. That is exactly the items that you need. Leg item, you want Boots of Quickness. This is to lower your initiative. So just being able to go early or late, depending on what the enemies do. And also, more importantly, in relation to your allies. So your timing in the round on when you take your turns is very important. So Boots of Quickness allows you to do that. Then in terms of your small items, you have lots of ways to basically get cards back and play additional cards on turns. So you have Ring of Brutality, which allows you to basically perform the top action of a card at the end of the round. So you get 1 free card play. You use this to play Accelerated End top, of course. You have Ring of Haste, which does the same, but for a bottom action. You use this to play Mass Extinction bottom, of course. You have Major Stamina Potion to allow you to get both of those cards back, Accelerated End, Mass Extinction. You have Second Chance Ring to allow you to play, you guessed it, Accelerated End, Mass Extinction a second time during that round. You also have Starring, which allows you to get both of those cards back. Also allows you to refresh your wands, which is quite important. So this would allow you the ability to refresh your wands to be able to use those elements again, potentially. So that's a nice thing that this also does. Also refreshes your boots, but you can't really use your boots multiple times in a single round, but could be good for the following round. And one of the reasons why I have Tower Shield in here is just because of Star Earring is here. We also have minor stamina potion. You actually use this to get back accelerated end once on the first turn, which I will show you. And also you have major mana potion there again to be able to create those two elements that you care so much about. So onto the Night Shroud. The Night Shroud cards is very, very simple. You actually only need 2 cards. The first card is Empowering Void, and you want the top of this card, which is to double the value of all of your move abilities this turn. What this does is this allows you to basically just go crazy, be able to move as much as you need to be able to open all of the doors. So we're just going to be doubling our movement to be able to basically race through the entire scenario, right? That's what we're going to be trying to do here. So you combo Empowering Void with actually Unseen Dread bottom here. So Unseen Dread is a move 6 jump on 5 initiative. So the idea here is we're going to be going on 5 initiative and we're going to be using Unseen Dread to move 6, and we're going to be consuming Dark with Empowering Void to actually make that a 12. And then also we have all of our movement ability items on top of that too. So we can have rocket boots. To be honest, you don't necessarily need rocket boots here because of the fact that you will have potentially jump already on Unseen Dread, or you do have jump on Unseen Dread already. So you can actually swap this out for any kind of plus movement boots. And actually you may need boots of sprinting to give yourself that one additional point of movement. However, I found that 3 move plus 3 move is more than enough for most scenarios. So haven't really had too much of an issue. Rocket Boots has done the job. In fact, I would think that you could maybe even go down to the +2 move and go down to a Boots of Striding, and that would probably still work. So I think +3 is great and absolutely does the job. +2 might still do the job, might come up just a little bit short depending on the scenario, and +4 is obviously a bit of an overkill. So up to you, whichever one you want to use. Next up, in terms of other items that we need, so we have hand items. So hand items, this is all to do with creating elements for the other party members. So on this, you really do want a Wand of Darkness if you have it, and again, that Wand of Storms if you have it. Unfortunately, I don't, so it's a little bit rough for me. So what I've actually done, and you may have noticed, is something that I've done because I have the gold to do it, is I've actually enhanced Dark on the bottom of Unseen Dread here. And that's the way that I've kind of replaced that wand for this character. So instead of having that wand, I actually just have enhanced Dark on here, because our job is just to make Dark. That's all we really need to do, is we need to open all of the doors, and then we need to replace the Dark that we're going to consume with Empowering Void. So that's all we need to consider doing. So I've just enhanced Dark on the bottom of this movement just for an easy way of doing it. But yeah, you could also use the absolutely just use the wands instead. Blinking Cape is another important item because this allows us to move an additional 4. So you may need this. You probably will need this to be able to open the dungeon. You may not on smaller ones. So 2-room scenarios, obviously not so much, but 4-room scenarios, Blinking Cape really is needed. You could also sort of mix this up with an invisibility cape if you really wanted to and you wanted to protect the Night Shroud. In terms of other items, there aren't really many other items this character needs, because this is the only job for the Night Shroud is really to open the door and open all of the doors, and that's about it. Onto the Sunkeeper. So the Sunkeeper, there isn't a huge amount that we really need with this Sunkeeper either. Really, we only need sort of 2, well, we only really need 2 cards. That's about it. And a couple of small items. So the main card that we really want here is Unwavering Mandate. So what this does is allows one adjacent ally to immediately perform 1 extra turn by playing 2 cards from their hand. So yeah, you guessed it, we're going to be using this on the Plague Herald to be able to play Accelerated End top and Mass Extinction bottom again for another turn. So this is what this part of the kind of combo does. In order to do this, you will also need some kind of really, really late initiative to combo it with. So just look out for something that's really, really late. I've been using Lay on Hands, but there are other things that you can use. So just try and ensure that you go really, really late with the initiative for this. because you want to be able to do this right at the very end. The Sunkeeper usually grants this extra turn right towards the very end. Now, in terms of items for this character, the most important item this character has is Scroll of Stamina, okay? This allows you to give an ally 2 cards back, right? This within range 5, and yeah, you're going to be using this to give back the Plague Herald those 2 cards, and then you're going to be granting them the additional turn. So you use Scroll of Stamina first, then you're going to be granting the additional turn. You can also use Minor Mana Potion or Major Mana Potion to be able to make the elements. As you see here, I have Staff of Elements to create one of those elements, so to create Dark, let's say, and Minor Mana Potion to create the Air. So just some combination of being able to create those 2 elements. You could just use one single Major Mana Potion here. So onto the Quartermaster. In the simplified version of this strategy, the Quartermaster really doesn't do a huge amount. Their main goal really is to go early and create the Dark element for the Night Shroud, so that the Night Shroud can then use Empowering Void for that double movement. That's really it. However, if you do have a second copy of Second Chance Ring, that's when the Quartermaster can become truly broken with this combo, and can almost enable the Plague Herald to take double turns again within the same round. It can be incredibly powerful, so you do have to look out for that. That is an ability and something that you can do. So in terms of cards, really what we are looking for here is we're looking for ways to recover items back onto our allies, because we want to give Plague Herald all of those super broken card recovery items back, and Second Chance Ring back, so they can go again and again and again. So the way that we do this is you can use the level 9 card, which is Bag of Holding, which is the best way of doing this, which is you and all adjacent allies may refresh all of your consumed small items. The reason why this is great is that it also gives you back your Second Chance Ring, so potentially you could go again. So the Quartermaster can go over and over and over and over again. And the reason why we want the Quartermaster to take multiple turns is because we want multiple triggers of the top of continual supply. So the top of continual supply says at the end of each of your turns, you may discard a card to allow an adjacent ally to refresh one of their consumed small items. And yeah, you guessed it, you would get back Second Chance Ring, you could get back Star Earring, you could get back a Major Stamina Potion, just all of these things to allow you to continually play these 2 cards, and you need to like balance that essentially. But this is one of the reasons why. So continual supply is the way that you kind of supercharge this strat, if you like, but you will need that second copy of Second Chance Ring in order to do so. Other things that you can consider is like Side Pouch is just a very easy one that you can get at level 4, which the top of that is one adjacent ally may refresh all of their spent and consumed items. And you could do this on round 2, at the beginning of round 2, to be able to give the Plague Herald back all of those items, and then be able to go crazy with the Plague Herald again on round 2. So although this isn't always going to be a single round clear unless you have the second Chance Ring, you can definitely easily guarantee that with that item. However, you can quite comfortably do it in a very quick time using something like Side Pouch and just being going early and allowing the Plague Herald to go early again and just go crazy. So in terms of items, you've got Pendant of Dark Pacts, which is not something that you really need, but again, being able to get back those small items, you can get back Second Chance Ring, keep going crazy, right? More and more turns. Cloak of Pockets, additional items, really good. Wand of Darkness, you don't necessarily need the actual Wand of Storms on this character. Wand of Darkness is probably more than enough. So I actually quite like using Wand of Darkness. Again, you need this item because you're going to want to go early and you're going to want to create Dark for the Night Shroud. So you just need some way of creating Dark. So Wand of Darkness is great here. Hand item 2, if you had something spare, you can just chuck that in there, maybe a tanking item. Initiative boots, really important for the Quartermaster for this build, because this is the way that we lower our initiative below the Night Shroud. So we do need this. This is an important part. Then we've got Major Mana Potion, create those elements, Stamina Potion, Scroll of Stamina to be able to give those cards back again. So if you have 2 of these, this is another great way to be able to give the Plague Herald some cards back. You've got Star Earring, Sun Earring, and we've got Minor Mana Potion, and we've got Ring of Haste here as well to allow us to maybe play an additional card as well on a turn. So in terms of the play order of cards here, I'll go through each sort of character and the order in which they're going to act. The first character to act is going to be the Quartermaster. And what we need to do here is we just need to create dark. That's all we're going to do for the simplified version today. So what we're going to do is we're going to use reinforced steel bottom here to give us a shield. And then we're actually going to play continual supply, because this would be what we would ideally do on the first turn if we were playing the more complex version. Unfortunately, we don't have that second copy of Second Chance Ring, so we can't quite take a full use out of continual supply. But this is essentially what we are going to do. And so we know we need to go early, buff up our allies, and then get our Night Shroud, the element that they need. So then the Night Shroud, we are going to use Unseen Dread for the move 6 jump. And we're going to use Empowering Void Chop to be able to double our attack. Double our movement. Nice and simple. Then we've got Plague Herald, and of course, Plague Herald, the only thing we really need to worry about doing is poisoning target all enemies to begin with, and accelerated end top. So we should be able to poison and start off our kind of attack with accelerated end and start off our damage going. With the sun, we just need to go late, and we need to make sure that we play Unwavering Mandate, because we're going to be going and essentially allowing the Plague Herald to take another turn, and we can just go late. So I can use something like Lay on Hands here to go on initiative 90. That's nice and late. Shouldn't be too much of an issue. Yeah, so there we go. So let's go for it. So here is an example of when things can get slightly difficult because the living bones are healing. The good news here, though, is that the living bones are healing before our Plague Herald takes the turn. So this is one of the weaknesses of this strategy, is that if enemies heal in between the Plague Herald's first turn, so for example, the Plague Herald poisons here and then they go here, then that could be a bit of an issue. So we do have to be slightly concerned about that, but it's okay. We can make this work. So our first initiative boots is for the Quartermaster, which we will use. We want to make sure that we go before the Night Shroud. We can also use the boots of quickness here to go early. This is a good idea to use these, even though it doesn't really matter, because it's taking us earlier in the turn order, which is important for us to get additional turns later using our Second Chance Ring. So we will do that. So first off, we are going to use the Shield 2. Nice and simple. And now we'll use Continual Supply. Unfortunately, we can't really use this because there's nothing to really do with this, unfortunately. So we do need to make sure, though, that we remember to make the darkness that we need for the Night Shroud. So we'll do that. Go, and then we can simply end turn in the simple version here. And we can skip action because we don't have anything to do with Continual Supply. So now what we'll do is we'll use Empowering Void. We will skip the attack, but we would love to consume Dark to create this element to get this bonus. And now we can move up to 12 using this, but we can actually double using the boots as well. So you can just go crazy with this. So we'll use the rocket boots. Why not? And we will scoot into the next room. Okay, there's a lot of enemies in this room. A lot of enemies. But to be honest, the thing with this strategy is it doesn't care how many enemies there are. It's all just about doing as much damage as you can. So the number of enemies is kind of irrelevant to this strategy. So we can go here and skip our movement. This is quite good. And we'll end our turn. So we are in a bit of a precarious position here, but it shouldn't be too bad. Guys are shielding up. Doesn't matter because we're going straight through shields, so you don't care about shields either because we are not drawing attack modifiers. We're doing direct damage. So this actually does not matter at all for us. Right, so onto the Plague Herald turn. So the first and this most important thing we do here is Airborne Toxin, right? Airborne Toxin, poison, everything. Also, what I didn't mention is that on the Night Shroud turn, we need to ensure that we create Dark, which we did do because I've actually enhanced the bottom of Unseen Dread with that Dark, as I described earlier. So, but if you had a Wand of Darkness, you could use that too. But that was, I didn't really need to do that. So this made it a bit simpler for me. Then we can use Accelerated End here and make sure we consume the Dark. So this is where we start to do damage to everything. So there's our first 2 damage, right? And so what we need to do now is we need to get Accelerated End back, right? So this is where the minor stamina potion comes in. So we'll use the minor stamina potion. And we'll get back Accelerated End. So now we've got both Mass Extinction and Accelerated End back into our hand. Perfect. Exactly where we want to be, right? So now what we do is we actually create dark because we have created air through the use of airborne toxins. So we can use the Wand of Darkness here. So now we have both of the elements that we need. And now we can play Second Chance Ring. And Second Chance Ring says that at the end of our turn, we can play 2 cards from the hand and perform an additional turn this round based on our new leading initiative, which must be later than your current initiative. This just means that we can't go, obviously, earlier before. So we will use this. And we will set up an Accelerated End and a Mass Extinction. We're going to be using those cards a lot. A lot. End the Plague Herald's turn, because now we've got everything that we need. Our initiative has also popped up here. Now, there is a small bug in digital here, where it is actually applying the -20 initiative to all subsequent turns, not just your first turn. Unconfirmed whether or not that is actually a bug or rules as intended. I personally believe it's probably a bug. However, that doesn't really affect this. You can still have really an easy time with this. As I said, we would just be on 62 here rather than on 42. Wouldn't have made a difference in this particular situation. Might do in your playthroughs though, so that is something to bear in mind. But again, this really is a digital exclusive kind of bit of fun to have. So we can use Accelerated End. We can consume Dark for this, or we can consume it for this. It really doesn't matter. Each one is +1, so it doesn't really matter which order we do. So Accelerated End. And then we will use both here on the bottom to do even more damage. As you can see, the enemies are starting to get low already. Okay, so now what we need to do is now we need to consider getting some of the cards back again and moving on from there. So we want to be able to play another turn. So how do we do that? Well, we do that by using Pendant of Dark Packs in order to get back that Second Chance Ring, because we want to play another round again. So however, we don't actually have another consumed item that's worth it right now. So what we'll do is we'll use Star Earring first. Okay, this is important. Use Star Earring first. That consumes it. Gets back your wand, or if you have both wands, you see, you could actually, at this point in time, you could easily make both Dark and Wind again if you did have that Wand of Storms. So we can get back Accelerated End and Mass Extinction. So again, we've got both of those cards back into our hand, which is exactly what we want. And now we want to use Pendant of Dark Packs. Alternatively, we could run the Ring of Brutality and the Ring of Haste here, but I think what we'll do is we'll kind of continue on this route. So we'll use Pendant of Dark Packs here. You can mix up the order in which you do this slightly, as long as you remember to kind of create your elements and make sure that you use Dark Packs to get back Star Earring and Second Chance Ring. This is the most important small item for you, really. So we can get these back. Then what we're going to do is that we could just consume, we could just create Dark and Air. Like I said, if we had the Storm Wand, unfortunately we don't. So we're actually just going to use the Major Mana here to create the 2 elements that we want. Then we're going to use Second Chance Ring again to now take our 3rd turn of the round. And we'll use Accelerated End and Mass Extinction again. What a surprise. And then we will end our extra turn. So now we can go again. Like I said, this is why this is slightly broken in digital. It stayed at 42. This really shouldn't be allowed because of the way that Second Chance Ring says that it must be later than our current initiative. So this is slightly broken. However, this should still be possible because then you can essentially flip all your initiatives around and things like that. So you could, for example, go on 94. This is one of the reasons why perhaps you want a card on the Sunkeeper that's actually later than 94 initiative. You may actually want something that's more like 95. Or, for example, you could use Boots to actually increase the Sunkeeper's initiative higher. If you wanted to. So if this ever gets patched, then there are ways that we can do this. We can still make this work. So if we use Consume Dark here, so now stuff's already started to die. Some of the small stuff, and we'll use Consume Air here, which is now going to clear all of the elite limits. So now we've just got a load of living corpses left to kill, which is a bit of a shame. So what we can do here now is that we can use the Major Stamina Potion to get both of those cards back. So accelerated end and mass extinction. Perfect. And now this is a good opportunity for us to use our 2 rings. So we can use Ring of Brutality. This allows us to play the top. So make sure that you choose accelerated end for this. I've made a mistake before of accidentally selecting mass extinction when doing this. So choose accelerated end. And we can use this. All right, that's all of the regulars dead. There's only 4 health left on these guys, which is going to be hopefully pretty easy to do. We get Ring of Haste here as well. And we will use Mass Extinction, of course. So now we will do 2 more damage to these guys. Unfortunately, we've run out of elements this turn. Because elements generate at the end of your turn, it can be difficult to always get this sometimes. But now we can use Star Earring. And we can get both of these cards back. Now, we don't actually even really need to do this in this example, because in this example here, we can just actually use the Unwavering Mandate, and we could use the Scroll of Stamina on this character to also get these back. So we've got a lot of built-in kind of flexibility here, because these enemies only have 2 health, we could actually just use the Scroll of Stamina. We're not even going to really need it. But yeah, so there's a lot of flexibility here, and we can use the Wand of Darkness because, hey, why not? I should have used that before I used my Star Earring there. So minor mistake, but it's not really going to matter to us here. So we end our turn. We end our extra turns. There's a bit of a bug here where you can see our initiative's just going kind of crazy, but so these guys do take a turn. This is why sometimes you do want some tanking ability, is that there are chances that the enemies will have opportunities to act in between your turns. So there is the opportunity for that. You have to be a bit careful. All right, so we know that we have both the cards in hand, which is absolutely great. Importantly, we can't create the element, then give the Plague Herald a turn, because elements are created at the end of your turn. So there's no way, unfortunately, for us to create the elements for the Plague Herald that the Plague Herald needs, which is why it's kind of important that the Plague Herald does make the elements that they need for this additional turn that you're going to get. So like I said, you could, in theory, have used the Scroll of Stamina here to get the 2 cards back, or you can do, just do what I've done there and use Star Earring to get them back yourself. We'll use the top of Unwavering Mandate here to bring back Accelerated End and Mass Extinction. We'll be playing these 2 cards. Select those to play. And there we go. Accelerated End. Assume that. And there is your single turn. Well, not single turn. Technically not single turn. Single round, if you like. There's your single round dungeon clear. Very easy, simple to do. Obviously, the scenario is now over, so in terms of getting loot, this is perhaps not the best strategy for that, because the scenario is about to end. But, we can just go and get these few little piles of loot. Ends our turn. And victory. Easy. As you can see, the stats for the Plague Herald is pretty good. 16 enemies killed, 207 damage done. 1 gold pile looted, 7 XP, and 14 items used. Like I said, this was a fairly simple scenario. We were just playing on normal difficulty with a very basic sort of simple loop. As you can see, there's quite a lot of flexibility this way of doing things. It's not crazy, but yeah, this is a very easy way for you to do it with a simplified version. So let's kick the difficulty up a little bit. You can go all the way up to insane here. Now, enemies are going to have more health, which means that this strategy is less likely to work on higher levels of difficulty, or at least the basic strategy isn't. However, if you're using the Quartermaster to a great effect, you can easily do this in 2 rounds and potentially do it in a single round if you can sequence everything correctly, but still incredibly fast. So let's go and try one more on insane. So this scenario is the Maze of Mystery, which is a very long scenario. Lots and lots of rooms here. So we're going to need a lot of movement on the first turn. So let's set up and let's get things going on the first turn. So again, we're only going to be doing the simplified version because unfortunately I don't really have that second chance ring, but I can give you an idea of what it looks like if you were to play this to a second round, which is again, very legitimate way of doing things. So let's go for it. So one way that the enemy can mess you up here is that we have the night demons here, and they are actually consuming dark, which is a little bit frustrating for us that we're going to lose that dark element at the end of this turn. That just means that we're going to basically do 1 damage less on our first turn with the Plague Herald. A little bit annoying. Not much we can really do about it, though, unless we were to somehow stun this enemy, but who's not to say we won't find more night demons later. So this is a slight weakness. If you are against enemies that actually consume and use the dark element or the air element, then there are sort of... you can actually end up having your damage output capped somewhat by them. So we're going to use move 6 jump. Also bear in mind that this ability here does double Blinking Cape because it doubles your move abilities, and this gives you a move ability. So this actually does also double Blinking Cape into a move 8, which is nice. So we'll use our rocket boots and we'll keep going. So there's room number 1. Room number 2. Well, room number 3, I guess. On to the next room. Still got plenty of movement. We can't quite get to that door with this one, so we're going to have to just... we're going to have to pull up here momentarily. And this is when you use your Blinking Cape to get that extra little bit of movement that we need here. Now, fingers crossed there might be a chest. There is indeed a treasure chest. So what we can do here is we can loot the treasure chest. I'm hoping for a Wand of Storms or a second chance ring. Another copy. That would be good for this build. So we can obviously farm chests incredibly quickly with this strategy as well. And we will end our turn because we don't need to create the dark because we already have. But it is kind of getting pinched, which is a bit of a shame. See, these guys are healing. Make sure that there's nobody healing afterwards, which is okay. Also, our Night Shroud's going to get beaten up quite a bit here, but luckily that doesn't really matter for us to win this scenario. We can sacrifice our Night Shroud. Wand of Storms. There you go. So we got another item that's actually going to help us. Finally, I pick up my first copy of Wand of Storms. So this is great. Now, this is going to allow me to actually increase my damage output potentially. Okay, so finally onto the Plague Herald. So as you can see, there's most of the enemies have now congregated into a few different rooms. That's fine. We can now poison all enemies regardless because there is no range. It is worth saying that perhaps if you have a slower computer, this might actually bring your computer to a bit of a halt because you are opening a lot of rooms. There's a lot of enemies going on. So this could potentially create quite a bit of lag on some computers, I would think. So be aware of that. Unfortunately, with Accelerate End, we don't get that bonus because the Night Demon stole it from us. But okay, oh well, it is what it is. Okay, so now we know we want to get our card back. So again, minor stamina potion, always the first one that you play because you just need to get back that 1 card Accelerated End. Great, so now we just really want to play Second Chance Ring. We need to make sure that we create Darkness here. So we've got both ready to go. And we'll play Second Chance Ring. And Accelerated End, Mass Extinction again. And as you can see, this becomes quite natural as you kind of play. You can definitely start to get into the rhythm of playing this strategy. It's fairly simple to execute once you get used to it. Like I said, you don't necessarily need to execute it with the best accuracy in order for it to still do like a hell of a lot of damage and still do a lot of work. I mean, it would still single-handedly win you a scenario, even if you did this over multiple turns and you kind of messed up a few things here or there. So those are the living spirits already dead. Shield can't save you now, guys. Now we're on to, again, trying to get all of these items back. So we're going to use Star Earring here. Get those 2 cards back. Get that Wand of Darkness back. And now we can basically want to play them again. So we're going to use Pendant of Darkbags. Second Chance Ring and Star Earring, 2 most important items for us. Them back. And now we need to remember to make those elements again. Now that I have that Wand of Storms we've just picked up, I can definitely use that as part of this. So we want to play Second Chance Ring again. All right, perfect. End that turn. Go again. And as you can see, we'll just go over and over and over and over again. Doing this, it's just incredibly strong. Some enemies starting to get low now. Night Shrouds. It's looking pretty good in this room now for the Night Shroud. So what we want to do is we want to use the Wand of Darkness to create dark. And then we can use the Star Earring again if we want to get everything back. Why not? We're not going to quite do it on this particular turn because, again, because we lost out on that dark and because we don't have that second copy of Second Chance Ring means that we're not quite going to be able to do this exactly as perfectly as we'd like. So some of these guys on high health are going to still stick around. So Accelerate End. Mass Extinction. Also bear in mind that we're now on insane difficulty, so obviously these guys have got more health, so you could always drop down the health of enemies, you know, to a normal difficulty if you really wanted to. Again, I still think that this is absolutely possible at high levels of difficulty using this strategy if you have the items required on the Quartermaster. We'll get those 2 cards back. And then we can just chill out. End our extra turns. Some weird kind of bugs sometimes in digital here with the way that this is happening. We are very much breaking the game here, so you will come across some bugs and some weird little things. We have Unwavering Mandate, so we can play that. Yeah. We would be able to do an additional damage here with the wand if we had it, which is a bit of a shame, but you can't really moan too much when you're doing this. There's going to be a few enemies left. I think there's any enemies in this room now. Oh, clear room. Also, if you do take a second turn, this does give you an opportunity to loot. So you could bring a big loot card on the Eclipse here and just go somewhere and, you know, do a loot. So there is other options like that for you. Wand of Darkness, we don't necessarily... Oh, I suppose I could use it here. Why not? And we'll play the loot 1. So there you go. So that is kind of like what a normal turn sort of would look like. We can use Staff of Elements here to create air so that we've got that going on. And then we can just end our turn here. What I could have done there is actually use Scroll of Stamina to get those cards back. So I kind of made a slight mistake there in which I could have actually have used... the Scroll of Stamina to get these 2 cards back so that I could have played it. So that's a slight mistake on my behalf there. But as you can see, we don't necessarily need it. Realistically, I can just short rest here. We'll get rid of Accelerated End. And we'll just use Mass Extinction bottom, right? We have the 2 elements. This is 4 damage. This is more than enough. Just about kills this Sun Demon, actually, with the 4 damage. And I can use Scatter Terror to go on 11 to make it very easy for us. So the 4 initiative could have done us in there a little bit. We would have had to have taken another attack. But again, we have these boots. We'll just go on 1 initiative here. And we'll just finish these guys off. Nice and clean. No issue. So again, although it's not one single round, it was pretty much 1 round. It was 1 round and 1 turn, if you like. So very simple. And then basically clear up, go and do your looting. So as you can see, this is actually a pretty flexible strategy. You don't necessarily need to do things in a completely set order, although it does help in terms of maximizing exactly how much damage you can do. And even against enemies that sometimes kind of throw a spanner in the sort of works, it's still kind of okay. You might just end up not doing quite as much damage, but you can easily extend this to a second round and then just clear all the enemies then. So this is an incredibly efficient way of just completely farming dungeons for chests, in my opinion, is really the best way of doing it. Chests, maybe getting XP bonuses on characters that you want to level up, although you do really need this set of characters, so you're kind of locked into it in that respect. But perhaps you could maybe bring a different character to the quartermaster, just so that you have somebody that goes early and can do something similar, be able to create that element going early. That's really all they need to do on the simplified version. So you've always got that as something that you could do if you're trying to level somebody up, like a scoundrel or something like that. It's completely fine. You could also potentially bring in more loot cards, extend it over a couple of rounds just so that you can maximize a bit of looting to get some more gold too. So there's a lot of things you can really do, and this strategy is very flexible in order to be able to make it fit for whatever goals that you are really trying to achieve in the game. Let's talk about some major weaknesses though that this strategy does have. As you can see, enemies that heal are by far the biggest weakness to this. If enemies manage to heal off that poison that you've done from airborne toxin, then the whole strategy can kind of fall apart. If they're healing on that turn, I would really suggest that you maybe mix up when you use your initiative boots. So perhaps you don't use your initiative boots. Just be very wary of the turn order there. Let them go early, let them heal. A lot of enemies that do heal do tend to do that early, so you can sidestep that. But sometimes you can just get screwed by little things here and there that will stop you from doing it. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that this completely invalidates this strategy. It just means that it might make it slightly harder and you might burn a lot of resources and not do as much damage as you were maybe hoping. But it's still very, very strong. Spawning scenarios where you have to wait for the enemies to spawn. Obviously, this isn't very good because although you could maybe clear the initial room and give yourself a leg up, clear the initial enemies that you have, you're then just going to have to deal with new enemies every single turn, and this strategy doesn't really do that. And although you do have kind of a slight damage backup kind of thing at your disposal, so you can also use the Night Shroud to be able to actually do quite a lot of damage and kill some things. You can also just use a lot of the good attack cards on the Plague Herald to be able to do damage later on, and the same with the Sunkeeper. So you do have ways of pushing a scenario over the line in the more traditional way. However, that's obviously a bit of a pitfall for this. And also enemies that summon, because again, if they summon, then those enemies turn up and then you can't actually poison them, because if they are summoned after you poison everything, then obviously they're not poisoned. So that's another sort of minor weakness to this strategy. You may also struggle a little bit in scenarios where all characters must survive. If you use the Night Shroud and they go into a room and they become the focus of a room with a crazy amount of enemies in there, there is a chance that they may die on the first round. It's a slim chance, but it may happen. If you do notice that's the case, and you can always sort of fix this really by, if you don't need Blinking Cape, just take Invisibility Cape instead. Or if you have access to the solo scenario items, if they're ever put in digital, or if you're maybe trying this in tabletop or on Tabletop Simulator, then the solo scenario item for this character can also solve this. For boss scenarios, this can be a really effective way to deal with all of the minions, but the bosses can quite often be immune to things like poison, so they might have immunity to poison. Also, they have obviously a huge amount of health, so it's very unlikely that you'll be able to kill a boss in a single sort of round, but you can do a lot of damage if they're not immune to poison, or you can just clear all of the minions up and then just focus on the actual boss. So this could be a really effective way to clearing certain specific boss scenarios. For example, I'm thinking the kind of rat one, where the overseer rat boss scenario. I think this would obviously be incredibly good at defeating that boss, but there are other ones that's going to be less good at, where they can still do a lot of damage to you and that could still hurt. But clearing all of the minions in a scenario is pretty much always going to be good and is always going to make your life easier, so I can still see it working on most of them. In conclusion, although a really fun and great way to farm chests in digital, I don't think it's really a viable strategy here to shoot for in the physical game. It's a lot of fun, but it's just going to be very difficult for you to get all of these items and characters in the same place, at the right place at the right time, right? With your progression of your campaign. It does really showcase some of the broken stuff that you can do in this game, especially with small items. I think it really shows the power of second chance ring and just card recovery in general. I don't think we'll be seeing stuff like this in future Gloomhaven products because, man, it's just too strong. And yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of an oversight, but again, the thing is that you can only really do this when you're super high level with all of the gold and things anyway. So the scenarios do tend to become a lot easier at that point anyway. So the game's already kind of peaked for you, if you like, in terms of difficulty, I found. So it's not too bad, although, yeah, obviously very broken. Let me know if you actually enjoyed this type of video. So on Weird Build Wednesday, which is my stream that we do on Wednesday, we always go through these kinds of things. And again, big shout out to Campatt for suggesting this and putting in the initial kind of theory crafting for what kind of items and cards and putting together the strategy. And we tried it on stream and it was a lot of fun. So I decided to make a proper video because this is quite an in-depth strategy that does require almost seeing someone to do it, to understand kind of how you loop things and stuff. It can be a bit confusing to understand the sequencing of the different cards and the different items and how to use them really. So hopefully this is helpful. And if you did like this kind of video, then please do let me know, because I may do more videos like this in the future for different strategies. And yeah, if they prove popular, then why not? We'll do more. If you've tried this strategy out yourself, or you have a different strategy that you'd like me to maybe try out, then please do pop it down in the comments below. I try and read and respond to all of them. And also head over to the Discord channel. There'll be a link in the description for that, in which there's a channel called Weird Build Wednesday, in which people just chuck ideas in there for random weird stuff we can try out. So chuck it in there, and who knows, maybe it'll become a live stream topic, and maybe it'll end up being a video like this. And of course, if you did really enjoy the video, please do consider liking and subscribing. It helps me out so much here on YouTube, and because I've been away, I really need to get back into the swing of things, and I do intend to, so please do. It really does help me out so much. And of course, come and drop by the Twitch channel at twitch.tv/managedquest every Monday, Wednesday, and Sunday, where we're streaming and playing Gloomhaven as always. Okay, well, I think that pretty much wraps up the first video from the new house, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you so much for watching. I will catch you in the next one. Bye.
I think still, yeah.
Oh, that's the blessing from Campatt. That's the blessing from.
Isaac, at this point, can we get your approval to add an additional attack modifier deck for allies in the digital version?